I'm Madison Shakespeare, a Gadigal traditional owner, saltwater woman from the east coast of Australia. We respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners, elders and ancestral spirits of the sacred First Nations across which we travelled to create this yarning about connecting with refugee peoples in Australia through caring for country. As a First Nations person, having the chance to yarn with refugee peoples about their life experiences is an opportunity to exchange stories and build beneficial cultural relationships through mutual understanding. Researchers from this project provide insight on ways through which connecting communities through custodianship of country can develop meaningful relationships between First Nations and refugee peoples in Australia.
Yarning with refugee peoples involves sharing stories that illuminate strength, tenacity and resilience of peoples who are unable to live on their homeland. Many Australian First Nations peoples continue to be dispossessed from their home nation country. This means that we are separated from family and community and unable to fulfil our cultural and spiritual obligations that focus on caring for country.
Hi, I'm Bhavya. I'm from India and I'm doing my PhD at the Institute of Culture and Society, Western Sydney University. I have been in Australia since 2019 and my PhD research is with Indigenous single women farmers in India. I was raised in Delhi, so I did not know a lot about Indigenous culture in India itself. But when I was doing my master's research, I started living with this community. They're called Kond Adivasis in India. And there it was a complete turn of life events for me because it was a very different culture. It was a village setting that I was living in, so it was a very different perspective to life. And although I was there as an action researcher, so my research has always been about not just researching, but also designing action and doing action-based projects. I was learning a lot in that time, and slowly we formed a group of single women in the area, and for the last 4 or 5 years, we've been doing Indigenous-based agriculture in that community with these women farmers because they're landless women farmers. So the project is heavily influenced by Indigenous knowledge systems and practices and communitarian value systems and things like that. And since I've been in Australia, I've also been particularly very, very interested in the Aboriginal culture here and the community here because I find so many resonances, even though these are different countries per se, but the ethical value systems, the connection to country, land, food practices, a lot of things are very similar.
Being on country together, caring for our natural environment, is caring for each other now and for generations of future Australians. Learning about why and how First Nations peoples of Australia care for country is a way through which we can all connect with country.
My name is Sukhmani Khurana. I'm a researcher and teacher based at the University of New South Wales. I've lived in many cities across Australia and I have a really long-standing interest in Indigenous communities and issues, and also in refugee communities and how they're represented in the media and more broadly in storytelling. So this project is a really unique and fantastic opportunity to bring my two interests together. I think it's really important for migrants and refugees in this country to understand the land they're on, the fact that they're complicit in colonization, and to be part of the journey by showing solidarity in meaningful ways. So as far as refugees are concerned, it's considered really important for them to settle. But what exactly does settlement mean? Settlement in the first few years of your arrival in Australia means finding financial security, that is through a job, or if you've got kids, then finding the right kind of education for them, also housing. So the first few years are occupied by those kinds of material concerns of settlement. But as they start settling into the country and going beyond those markers, they also want to know more about the land they're on. how they can participate in society, which means not just voting in elections, but also understanding what the history of the place is, what its history of colonization is. And in the case of many refugees, there is also shared struggles because they themselves have been displaced from the lands that they come from. So there's many points of connection that Indigenous peoples and refugee people can connect with and connect on, and hopefully build on more solidarity and movements that can help change the face of this country.